Hey there, this is Wow Experience from WoLab XR. Here we speak about design for augmented and virtual reality. Today, our guest is Sarah Hill, CEO and Chief Storyteller at Heallium. Heallium is a meditation platform for VR and AR, and today we're going to speak about how to create meditation experiences in XR.
Absolutely. So I'm a former television journalist, broadcaster for more than 20 years, and covered a lot of trauma, rapes, murders, homicides. We went in with the trauma teams in the aftermath of the tsunami in Sri Lanka and Indonesia. And to make a long story short, after decades of in a high stress occupation, that stress ultimately made me sick. I developed an inability to sleep, which led to panic attacks and anxiety. And to make a long story short, developed Heallium, Healium, for me, as well as the millions of people who struggle with anxiety and are looking for drugless, non-harmful coping mechanisms.
So basically, you have a personal story related to meditations, that you were affected by a big amount of stress because of your work, and meditations helped you to kind of go through it. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I tried psychotropic medication. It wasn't for me. It made me feel odd. And while it works great for some people, and Heallium is not meant to be a replacement for psychotropic medication or professional counseling, which is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. But I was looking for something that I could do myself at home that would allow me to learn to self-regulate your brain patterns. And that's essentially what you're doing with Heallium. You wear an EEG meditation headband and you're able to control these virtual worlds with your own brain patterns, or in augmented reality with your own heart rate. And I'm happy to go into a deeper dive into how that works.
But first of all, can you please tell us about how Heallium was started? How did you connect the team together, and how did you start working on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So my co-founder, Dr. Jeff Tarrant, he is a neurofeedback specialist and founder of the Neuro Meditation Institute, and also our chief scientist for Heallium. And before Heallium was a product, we were a service-based company, and we were creating a virtual and augmented reality experiences for brands, doing documentaries. And we noticed in the thousands of demos that we would give individuals, particularly veterans who weren't able to physically travel to see their memorials in Washington, D.C., we were capturing them in VR and allowing them to feel like they were at the memorial, even though they couldn't physically travel. And we noticed in all of those demos that when we placed virtual reality on their face via the goggles, that they weren't just watching the media, they were feeling it. And their bodies would soften and relax. They take a deep cleansing breath. And I'm sure, a lot of the people in your audience who are in the industry have seen that effect of VR on people. And to me, former journalist, naturally curious person, I wanted to know exactly what is happening in their mind when they are seeing our experiences. Because if it's something that's beneficial, perhaps we could create these experiences in an even more therapeutic way that would allow them to quickly downshift their nervous system. And so I reached out to a friend of mine, Dr. Tarrant, who's now my co-founder, and asked him, can you study what these experiences are doing to brain patterns? And he did via full, 24 sensor EEG caps around all of the head with the gels and glues. He's done countless EEG scans to see exactly, what kinds of Heallium impacts brain patterns. And he found that it does impact brain patterns. Our products do in a very significant way. In 4 peer-reviewed journals, Heallium's been shown to quickly reduce anxiety, improve mood in as little as 4 minutes. And you actually can see the brain patterns temporarily changing in real time, going through the experience. So it was clear after that event that we needed to change the course of our company, not just from, creating these experiences, but actually having a product. And we incorporated neurofeedback protocols. We developed a technology that allows you to modify and recommend content to the user on the basis of their biometric inputs. And to make a long story short, helium is sold worldwide now in areas of acute situational confined stress, the military, large enterprises, anything that sucks that you have to go through. You can take a helium and not only instantly, escape your current reality, but also train with your own brain patterns and heart rate. And that's kind of what makes us unique. It is what makes us unique, is that you can see your own bioinformatics inside the screen, your own brain patterns, your own focused calm to know, am I doing it right? And that's, in our opinion, really what's one thing that's lacking from traditional meditation is that it's in a flat 2D world, or it's audio only, which isn't all that engaging for some individuals. For some people it is. Traditional meditation is great, not to knock it at all. But for those of us who struggle with close your eyes and meditate, this is open your eyes and become more self-aware of your thoughts and emotions. And it creates stored memories in the brain that then have the ability to be recalled in a stressful situation. So it's a very long explanation to your question, but in short, we are allowing the user to become more self-aware of their brain patterns and know that their thoughts do have power to control things, not only in the virtual world, but when they take off the goggles, they've trained for this stress Olympics that we call it. And they know how to self-regulate their brain patterns because they've been doing helium.
Thank you so much. That is actually super amazing. And here, I think you mentioned that helium helps first veterans and large enterprise. And I think for me and a lot of people as well, it's very interesting to find out how meditations can help a large enterprise and how they can help veterans.
Yes. So large enterprises, obviously this is the stress Olympics right now in the wake of COVID. And not everyone has trained for it. We're sequestered, we're quarantined, our lives have been disrupted, we might be working from home, we might have additional, hygiene protocols, our kids, might be at home with us. And helium is that escape. So enterprises use it in a variety of ways. Worker athletes, as we call them, these are nurses, first responders, firefighters, physicians, who are working on the front lines of COVID. And they need some drugless, non-harmful coping mechanisms to prevent burnout. So enterprises are using it with their employees, with their high stress occupations, police departments, and they're installing helium stations inside those enterprises. Schools are using helium with not only their teachers, but also with their students to bring them some virtual peace. The military using helium out on the USS Nimitz in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We actually took our products there and showed their sailors how to use it. And those sailors out on an aircraft carrier in the middle of the Pacific Ocean don't have the ability to see nature for months and months. So, and they've been using audio CDs to help them, learn to self-regulate. Well, helium takes that, and amplifies it 10 times by providing a visual experience that tricks the brain into thinking that it's in a beautiful waterfall, it's in a peaceful forest. It's not in, a tin can that is an aircraft carrier, that it's in someplace beautiful. And the brain believes what it sees. If it sees that it's in a beautiful place, the body responds. And that's the very simplistic, way to explain what we're doing, is immersing the user in a beautiful world, allowing them to see their own brain patterns and heart rate so that they can learn to self-regulate, not only with goggles, but without goggles in augmented reality.
That is super cool. And so which metrics do you count before, during, and after the experience? Which body metrics? I don't know the proper word in English for this.
Sure, it's a great question. So our products use EEG, or electroencephalogram, and an EEG device in the olden days used to be thought of as a full cap with a bunch of sensors and glues, electrodes, glues that you had to glue to your head. And for diagnostic purposes, like for seizure activity, that's still used. However, there are consumer grade EEG meditation headbands that are out on the market now that's taken traditional, glue and gel EEG, simplified it in a form that's just on the front of your forehead. Obviously, these EEG meditation headbands are not diagnostic in any way. It's not going to diagnose, whether you have a brain disorder or tell you that you have anxiety or tell you that you have depression. Think of these like training tools or ankle weights for a marathon. You are using them as self-awareness to learn how your brain patterns operate and how what you think about in your mind absolutely has the ability to make this little firefly in VR or AR go up or down. And so EEG, electroencephalogram, is one measurement in virtual reality. And then the other one in augmented reality, we can use either EEG via a BrainLink Lite EEG headband. We don't make the headband. We work with any wearable that's out there. Right now we have two compatible wearables on the platform, BrainLink Lite and EEG and an Apple Watch. And with an Apple Watch, you can use your Apple Watch to control augmented reality experiences in our iPhone app. And we also have an Android app that also works with the BrainLink Lite if you don't want to use the goggles. We're adding additional wearables all the time. And so right now it's heart rate and EEG inside augmented reality, and inside virtual reality, it's just EEG. And heart rate will be on the horizon here very soon.
And so you have a mobile app with augmented reality mobile meditations. And how does this work? Because you have to be with your mobile phone, so it's interesting to find out.
Yes. So just with your mobile device, you have AR assets that can come into your living room. So you still see the real world, but you see like a solar system and planets circling around the room. The planets are dark. And with an EEG headband or with your Apple Watch, if your brain patterns are focused and calm, that augmented reality solar system will light up. If you're not focused and calm, that sun will darken as the feedback to you to learn, am I doing it right? Same thing with your heart rate. You lower your heart rate and butterflies will hatch out of this augmented reality chrysalis. And if your heart rate is not lowered, the butterflies will stop hatching. It's the same thing. You can grow flowers. You can hatch fireflies. Think of these like bio gaming or little games that you play with your body's electricity.
That is super cool. That is super interesting. I never heard before about something like that. That's super amazing.
Yes, so we use a variety of virtual reality glasses and also augmented reality glasses as well. So, you all might be familiar with Nreal glasses, which are out on the market. We're excited about porting our apps to them. They're in the process of being ported there, as well as some augmented reality glasses that haven't even been announced yet. So, the future is bright, not only for virtual reality, but also AR glasses as well. We're also on Steam and Viveport as well for you all who have headsets.
Okay, that is cool. And so how do you actually design the meditation practices? And what are the main design challenges that you've met during the way when you were designing these virtual reality meditation practices?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so these wearables weren't natively designed to communicate with virtual and augmented reality. So we had to build technology that is the bridge between consumer wearables and your body's electricity. So anything that captures data, EEG, heart rate, skin conductance, blood pressure, muscle tension. Heallium is a technology bridge that allows you to modify and recommend that content to the user on the basis of those biometric inputs. And so that infrastructure didn't exist, and we had to build it. And so we did, and in creating these experiences, it was difficult at first because these wearables aren't natively designed to communicate with a spatial computing environment. They were designed to either display a number or something like that, not to move media or not to change assets like what we were doing. So we had to build those experiences. We also had to learn to write in spatial computing environments and write stories in 360. And it was very difficult for me at first because I had been used to writing visual stories where the narrator or the author of that story had control of the frame. You always had the ability to show the user exactly what you wanted to see. And it was really difficult for me as a first-time immersive storyteller to learn that I did not have control of that frame because the viewer had the ability to look anywhere. And so writing in immersive stories is really tough because you never really know where the user is looking. And so you have to use spatial audio, you have to use narration cues, directions, arrows, anything you can at your disposal to gently ensure that the user is, looking where you want them to look. And so, that was a struggle. Also, too, these are incredibly large files, huge files that weren't necessarily designed to be optimized for some of these headsets. So, we had to learn how to optimize them and make our assets cheap enough from a size perspective that they could properly, operate inside the experience. Combine that with, how you integrate your own brain into these experiences. And you can imagine there were a lot of challenges. But we got over those hurdles. We taught ourselves how to tell stories with your body's electricity. Taught ourselves how to create these experiences, how to sell them. And when we were a young company, I was our only one employee creating the experiences, writing the stories, and then selling them. And now we are a larger group of people with a great group of talented individuals, and our content, obviously has gotten better because it's no longer just me creating it. We have a great team of designers, game developers, and storytellers. And story is so important. Story is how we learn. It's how we make sense of the world. It's how we retain information. And really at its core, our company is a storytelling company.
Yes, and you said that you have game designers in your team as well, because we're hearing from multiple people in the sphere that they are hiring game designers because creating content for VR is much more like creating video games than creating like anything else in the world.
Absolutely. We always love to lock arms, and we are hiring for Unity developers, and particularly those individuals. You don't have to have experience on integrating your body's electricity. We'll teach you how to do that. But we are all the time looking for people who can create these beautiful, picturesque landscapes. Maybe they have a story design idea. We release a new piece of content on Heallium every 60 days. So we collaborate with a lot of artists, designers, developers, and we're also building our in-house team here in Columbia, Missouri. So if anyone wants to move to the middle of the US to build the future of biometrically controlled media, and creating experiences with your body's electricity, we would love a conversation with you.
That is super cool. And so can you please tell what is your vision on the next 5 years with Heallium, and how do you think that things can end out?
So we are seeing the rise of a handful of different trends. The rise of spatial computing environments, right? The world is no longer flat. It's becoming a place that we step into. The rise of people seeking out drugless solutions. in the aftermath of the opioid epidemic and people being addicted to prescription drugs, helium comes at a great time to offer some drugless alternatives. The rise of wearables and all of this massive amount, 250 million wearables in the market right now. And what are you going to do with all that data? Well, Heallium allows you to not just track that data, but actually interact with it. It's a media channel that's powered by you. In addition, beyond the rise of wearables, the rise of 5G, which is enabling more real-time data capture with your biometric data, also enabling more real-time streaming experiences someday through more virtual reality headsets. And those that along with the mental health emergency that we're in right now. And so we really see a rise of these, we call them VR-ceuticals, AR-ceuticals, some people call them digiceuticals, a whole suite of digital drugs that people seek out before they actually, take the step to go through to psychotropic medication. So ultimately, we see a world where anytime that people think of them being stressed, they know that they can take a Heallium.